guys, welcome back to Two Worlds Collide podcast. On today's episode, we have Tom Baulch, aka Prime Train. Tom is a young entrepreneur. His journey from humble beginnings to amassing a massive social media following and building a successful business is nothing short of inspiring. We dive deep into his story, exploring the importance of staying humble and keeping your ego in check, dealing with criticism, and the critical role discipline and hard work plays in achieving success. I hope you guys enjoy. Ready to go?
Let's run it.
Mate, Tom Baulch, aka Prime Train. Welcome to Two Worlds Collide podcast. How are you, bro?
Mate, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very, very excited for this little endeavour.
Mate, you're very, very welcome. Very welcome. I'm really excited to have you on. Really excited to dive into your life, especially around this sort of stuff of what you've built off a brand of playing footy. And, you know, a lot of footy players have built a brand off AFL, but you haven't quite made it to that, but you've got a bigger following than a lot of these AFL players. So we want to dive into that and want to dive into your mindset, mentality, discipline, all this stuff that makes you who you are, which I think is pretty incredible for some of the stuff that you're doing at the age you're doing it as well. But we will get to that. So let's just jump into, you know, what we got into this morning. I pitched an idea to you a couple of weeks ago about you running me through a training session, and that could, you know, flow and talk into your business and what you're trying to do now. But one thing I did say to you about, you know, a bit out of the scope of what we're going to do. I said we're going to go jump in the
Freezing cold Melbourne Ocean.
Yeah, at 5 a.m. and you're up for it, mate. You said straight away, let's do it. So
yeah, well, you
talk to me about that.
Yeah, you sent me a message a couple of weeks ago, and I was obviously very keen to jump on. You know, I love kind of your background in ex-military, and I just thought that it'd be really good to jump on a podcast with someone that is really, I think, got the power of the mind, you know, really switched on and is disciplined. And that was really what drew me to you, I think, in the first place. And then, you know, we said, let's do a workout and kind of get to know each other. So we've had 3 or 4 hours this morning where we really have. And you did send me a message at probably a week ago. You said, oh, get up and do the cold plunge at 0500. Obviously, most people would say 5 a.m. in the morning, but you with your military background go 0500. So I said, bloody oath, mate, I'll pick you up at 0500 and we'll go down for a little cold plunge. So it was a great way to start the day. I know you do it every day as well. And I try and do it every day. Where it is applicable, and I absolutely love it for the mind and for the body.
Yeah. So when did you start doing cold plunges?
Robert, well, it's actually a really good thing to note that for me, I've kind of done it ever since I was like 13 or 14, but I never really understood the benefits of it as much as what I do now. So when I started doing it, it was just after a game of footy, and I just felt so great when I'd jump in the ice bath after a game, and I just felt great on the Sunday. I could actually walk around, run around, and I felt great. So that was kind of when I really started it, and then it's really become this big craze in probably the last 2 or 3 years, I reckon, like on social media. You got people like Huberman and stuff that are really diving into kind of the psychological benefits of it as well as the physical. So I really started to find that the mental benefits in the last year or two has been something that I've really drawn on and really enjoyed from the experience.
Yeah, I think, the reason I do it, look, there's a whole bunch of studies out there. I haven't read too many. I had a guy on my podcast a few weeks ago, and he was sort of, explained to me why they do it and stuff like that. Obviously, recovery, the dopamine hits, it raises your metabolism. It's also great for, how you feel and all that sort of stuff. But the reason I sort of do it is because it's a part of my daily routine now, and I enjoy the mental aspect of it more than reaping the rewards of everything else. The first thing I do is I get up and I get in my ice bath at home, and I'm not allowed to eat or drink before that stage. And I've repeated this a lot on my podcast, and I think, the power of the morning routine can set you up for success during the day. Like you can't just let your feet hit the floorboards in the morning and then just, wander aimlessly into the
zombie
world.
Walk through the world. And the biggest key that I always say to people is, like, do you enjoy doing the ice bath? Like, do you actually enjoy getting in? Like, you hate it, right?
No,
it sucks.
not at all.
So for me, for the rest of the day, I like to start the day with something that I hate doing, and the ice bath is something that that I really don't like doing. It's freezing cold. You can't feel your limbs, you can't feel your toes, your fingers, your hands. Then for the rest of the day, from 6 a.m. onwards, I know that no task that ever gets put in front of me for the rest of that day is going to be harder than what I did at the start of the day. So for the rest of the day, I know that anything that gets put in front of me, or any mundane, boring task, or whatever it might be that gets put in front of me, I have to respond to these emails or sign these contracts or pay this person. Sometimes we procrastinate and put these things off. When I do the ice bath in the morning, I'm like, hold on, I've already done the worst thing in the morning. Nothing can get worse than this. So then my mundane tasks become a lot easier for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I find my 3 p.m. around when I normally crash as well. I find that stage doesn't really come on anymore.
No.
And it's sort of been delayed. Now, there's obviously a few things I've been doing, changing my diet up.
Diet's a big one.
Yeah, dropping carbs out, not having as much coffee anymore as well. I don't really get that 3 p.m. slump anymore, or 1500.
Yep. No, the 1500 slump. I love when you would text me those numbers. I just found it hilarious because no one talks like that, right? Like no one ever talks like that unless you're ex-military. I found that hilarious. But yeah, I think that 3 p.m. slump is such a big issue that people have. And I know that a lot of people have turned to nicotine as well these days. Not necessarily
like chewing gum or
vaping, chewing gum, or nicotine pouches.
Yeah.
A lot of people have, especially like my age people, have really turned to that. And it's like, you've got to remember, if these things are happening to you, like there's probably a natural way that you can change these things. And I understand nicotine is natural, like technically, you can get it in eggplant and capsicum, but like very small doses. When you get it in a pouch or a vape, it's going to be a much higher dosage, right, of nicotine.
So how are they doing that? How are they getting that? Because explain that to me. I don't really understand.
So nicotine is a fantastic drug for if you want to like lock in, concentrate. So if you're maybe a little bit ADHD, or you hit that kind of 3 p.m., you don't want to have caffeine, right? Because if you have caffeine 12 hours before you sleep, it could affect your sleep, right? Yeah. So people in the afternoon, instead of having caffeine, will go for a different kind of energy hit, which will be the nicotine gum or the nicotine pouch, and so that's the way that they lock in for the afternoon.
So people your age doing that now.
Yep.
Wow. Man,
almost like 90%.
Geez, that it's just unheard of from when I was growing up. No one was doing that.
Yeah, but this thing is that like right now at this moment, there's no side effects because it hasn't been around for long enough for anyone to actually really study the side effects. If a drug's been around for 150 years for me, and it's good, like caffeine, great example. It's been around for a very long time. We know what the what the dosage is recommended, like what's good, when we should have it in the morning, and then when we shouldn't have it after probably midday. And that's a really easy one for me to know exactly what's good and exactly what's bad. Nicotine's a little bit different for me.
Yeah, it makes it that's really worrying to hear that. Obviously that's like a cheap way to do it. The hard way to do it, and not many people do this these days, is making sure your diet's under control, making sure you're getting 8 hours of sleep, making sure you're training, making sure you're doing stuff like cold plunging and stuff like that. Now, look, not everyone has to cold plunge. I say to people, just go and jump in the shower for 3 minutes and turn it on cold. So you get this very, very similar effects, right?
Jump in the ocean, jump in a river, jump in a lake. Like they're all kind of, they're all similar.
Yeah, but in a day and age where everyone's after cheap and quick fixes, that's worrying, isn't it? People jumping on that for that 3 p.m. slump, and they're, grabbing nicotine, chew gums or vapes. Man, vapes is one thing that is fucking terrible.
So bad, bro. So bad, man.
I had my one of my dad's friends owns now I don't know if it's true or not, but he just told us this. One of my dad's friends owns a refrigeration mechanic business, and he said the same stuff they use to gas vapes is the same stuff they use to regas air cons.
Yeah.
Which can't be good for
you. When you think about what's put into to those kind of things, and like I'm going to put my hand up and say, like, I haven't never touched a vape before, like I have touched a vape, and like they definitely go around, people our age. I'm 24, so they're definitely around, but like if you can avoid them, please try and avoid them. Like it is what you're doing or what you're putting into your body. Like if you value family, or health or anything, longevity in your life, if you want to live past 60, you're probably better off putting them down.
Yeah. I think because we haven't seen the generation yet that has vaped, right? We've only seen the generation that smoked. And, from all reports, vaping can be much worse than smoking. And a lot of people turn to vaping to get off smoking.
Yeah.
But it's like, changing out alcohol beer with wine.
It's just
Do you know what I mean? They're
thing.
the same thing.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. So, in a day and age where a lot of people were after cheap and quick fixes, nothing can take out the fact that 8 hours of good sleep, training and diet is probably the three most important things to keep your health right. And then obviously there's so much more stuff like relationships, what we were talking about this morning, we'll probably get into. But look, talk me through the workout you did this morning, and then maybe after that, talk me about the brand and what is Prime Train and, the sort of how it started and then what you're trying to develop from that.
Yeah, so this morning we did a nice little Murph workout, which is a mile run and then 100 chin-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then another mile run. So a pretty solid workout that we did, and I do believe it's a kind of like a military workout derived originally.
Yeah, there was this guy named Murphy, was in the Navy SEALs, died overseas in fighting in, I believe it was Iraq, and then, that's where these hero workouts came from.
Yeah, love it. So that's why I thought it would be a great, great little section for this morning. But we hit that, and I think that for me, Prime Train began. I was just a personal trainer, kind of doing some group classes, doing some one-on-one PT, and I really started off kind of seeing a little bit of a gap in the market. I always wanted to train athletes. That was always my big thing, and I was like, well, I'm never really going to be able to reach these athletes or reach new clients unless I jump on social media. So I really jumped on kind of just before COVID. And a lot of people see the success, or what is seen as kind of success now. I've got a few different businesses and I've got followers and everything, but I would have posted for 2 years and had 500 followers. Like no one really cared for 2 years. And
what do you think changed?
I think that consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency was the key, because I was posting maybe twice a week, 3 times a week.
Consistency followed by discipline.
Exactly right. And once I locked into I'm going to post twice a day, because the more that I post in the first kind of part of your business, the more chances you have of going viral, right? Like it's just a numbers game. If you can lock in and just focus on, posting quality and quantity content, if you can do a bit of both, you've hit the sweet spot there. So I was just posting TikTok after Instagram, just like grinding it like for a year. And I would have blown up to 200K followers on TikTok in a year, and then 50,000 on Instagram. And now it's 300,000 on TikTok and over 150 or something on Instagram. So
you're almost at the 500,000 mark over total.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is crazy when you think about it. Like the only way that I can kind of put it into my perspective is because I follow footy a lot. I look at the MCG and it's like 4 or 5 MCGs full of people. You put it like that.
That's a lot. Mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that when I start to put it like that in my own head, I realize how much of a responsibility you kind of have to really be a positive role model on these people. Yeah,
I was just about to ask that question. The amount of people you have following them, do you feel like you have a responsibility to push out a healthy lifestyle, push out being a good person, push out being the best version of yourself? Because I think that professional athletes coming along, or what comes along with being a professional athlete, is being a good role model and inspiring the next generation. Now, you've done that not through playing AFL, but through being a big social media personality and stuff like that. Do you feel like it's your responsibility to lead people in a healthy lifestyle living and that type of direction? Yeah, definitely. And I think that the most important thing is you've got to live it yourself, because no one wants to follow a leader, or a role model that doesn't actually, follow the status quo or follow what they're pushing out to their people. So that's it's a big thing for me. And I feel guilty sometimes, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I feel guilty sometimes if I go and have a beer or something, because I feel like I'm kind of letting those people down, because I'm I want to be able to be the fittest and the healthiest version of myself. But then there's also a mental aspect of responsibility where it can become quite draining a lot of the time. And when you've got,
a lot of people that you might feel like rely on you, not necessarily just through your content, but you're training them as well. And, I've got over 250 one-on-one kind of clients that I train. So there's a lot of responsibility there to train those people, but then also live the lifestyle that I live, that kind of motivates them to continue to go to the gym, because they're constantly looking for motivation. Because a lot of people, when they start out, they don't have the discipline aspect. They're just looking for something that motivates them. So it might be your David Goggins, it might be Ned Brockman, it might be, it might be an athlete that just motivates you at the start. And then you've got to find, something, you've got to find your goals and your why you're going to continue on doing that, and when your motivation is not going to wane. Your motivation will eventually, hopefully, just become discipline.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think I think motivation is false hope. People, they might read a David Goggins book and they might be motivated for a month. But if I only trained when I was motivated, I'd be fat and lazy. There's 95% of the time I don't want to do anything. But the discipline I've had instilled in me from my military days, especially my military days, doing stuff when you don't want to do it is really, really good for the mind. But obviously getting the physical benefits out of it as well. Have you found that with time, have you been disciplined since you've been young, or have you found that over building a social media and building a business that has instilled bits of discipline into you now, and now you're incredibly disciplined? Or have you always been disciplined?
No, I've not always been disciplined. I used to, probably when I was like 14 or 15, from the ages of really like 9 to 15, I loved video games. Loved them, bro. Froth video games. And I would lock in to play FIFA 2K. If there was an AFL game that come out, they were always fucking shit, but I would always lock into the NBA, to the AFL games as well. And
did you ever get into streaming? Or what is it? Streaming?
Nah, I never got into streaming.
This is not my generation, so I don't know.
But I was loved my video games, and that took precedence for footy training and stuff a lot of the time. It's I don't want to go to footy training, I want to just play video games.
Because it's nice and warm.
It's nice and warm and it's comfortable, and your mind takes the path of least resistance a lot of the time. So I wouldn't say I've always been disciplined. I think really since COVID, that was the first time for me where I really locked in, and I was like, I think it's really hard because people think that, the hard work gets harder as you go along, but the hard work gets easier when you start to see progress. And when you start to see progress, it actually becomes easier. Oh God, I've lost 5 kilos. I want to go more. I want to lose another 5.
Yeah.
I want to keep going. And once you start to see the progress in the mirror, or people are giving you a little bit of, kudos on social media or whatever it might be, people are like, oh, you look good, or you're getting maybe more, more attraction from girls. It could be whatever motivates you. You're playing better in footy, whatever motivates you, and you're getting that little progression. That feels really good. But then you've got to have the resilience when you get knocked back. You might play a bad game of footy, or, you might have a bad workout, you get injured, and then you drop everything and you say, I can't be bothered with this anymore. You've got to have the resilience to come back.
Definitely. Or you've been posting on social media and nothing's happening.
Right.
And then,
example.
You're sitting there and you're going, man, I've been posting twice a day for half a year now. Why isn't this working? But to keep the discipline in that moment, because you're probably only one post away potentially from going viral, right? Always in the social media world. My wife runs a digital marketing business, and that's one of her favorite sayings.
Yeah.
But to stay disciplined when nothing's happened, it's easy to be disciplined when everything's working for you. But when the chips are against you, and no one's cheering for you, and you've got 500 followers, did you find that's where most of your growing happened?
Yeah, definitely. I think that. And it's really interesting because looking back on it at the time, I probably didn't realize how forming that was for me as a person, and in terms of maturity. I didn't realize how big of a moment that was in terms of resilience, when you've got all the boys in the group chat saying, you look like a dickhead, stop posting this stuff on social media, no one cares. If I see one more post from this guy, I swear I'm gonna block him, or whatever. And it's just a bit of banter in the group chat, whatever kind of thing. But then as soon as you start to hit your first amount of followers, they're the same people that come in your DMs and ask you for a training program. So that's and it's not until you start to feel a little bit of success or do something, and then you see people really change their opinion on you, that you're like, whoa, I was like that before when other people were reaching their dreams and following their dreams. I was kind of bashing on them because they reminded me of the dreams that I wasn't chasing.
Yeah, and this is going to lead me to a good point. I'm reading this book at the moment called Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. Fantastic book. And, you know, you just talked about growing that and then people coming towards you and you know, like they were the haters, but then they're asking you for favors. In this book, it says ego can be the death of someone and it can kill your creativity if you don't keep your ego in check. So how important is it for you to stay grounded and to keep your ego in check, to enforce your creativity onto your social media
The most important thing, like,
because I could imagine with that ego, with that social media following, could become a big ego. So how do you keep that in check?
Yeah, well, I think unfortunately you've got to learn. You know, it's the same as anything. You got to learn from your mistakes. And for me, I probably had a pretty good slap in the face about a year ago when everything was going great. I was getting good money from social media. People were buying the programs. Everything was going great. My apparel was going crazy. Like, just the chips were up. You know, everything's going great.
It was easy.
It was easy, man. Everything's going great. And then, probably had a few things that didn't go my way. And like you were talking about, ego is great because, you know, you walk out on the street and people taking photos with you and you feel good about yourself. But yeah, there was a really big slap in the face where I was like, whoa, like, hold on a sec. This is not really like the person that you are. Like you need to be humbled, kind of thing. And it probably happened about a year ago. There's a few things that didn't go my way. And
do you mind me asking what they were?
Yeah, well, I had a bit of an online social media kind of issue with one of my best mates, and that kind of there was screenshots and probably things that we wouldn't have liked being shared on social media. Broke up with my girlfriend as well at the time, so it was just like just felt like everything around me was just going really, really down, and that was probably the first time that I really come back and like was like, you know, I need to get everything sorted in my life, because everything is the chips are down. Yeah, the chips are down right now, and that was when the biggest amount of resilience really had to kind of step in and say, you need to lock yourself away for a month or 2 or 3. Ended up being kind of 6, where I just like didn't go out, didn't drink. I went through a little bit of a metamorphosis of as a human being, as I kind of wanted to grow into, from being maybe an arrogant young man who's got a lot of things going for him into an actual man. And that takes a lot of processing and a lot of work.
Yeah, I think you would definitely like the book. I'll write it down for you after. But coming out of that stage, like, what did you change about yourself to keep that ego in check?
Man, everything. Like, I think that the most important thing was probably surrounding myself with really good people.
And that massive thing in life,
huge, right? Like that's the biggest key. Like surrounding myself with, I didn't even really know it, but like the circle that I was around, they didn't like, they're your friends, but they're not your friends. Like, if you've got something going wrong, or if you break up with your missus, they're probably the first people that message her. Like they're not your friends, they're fake friends.
Yeah, you need the type of friends that will be there forever, but will also call you out on your shit.
Exactly right. Truth and honesty. Like if you're doing something that's wrong, or you're doing something, you're not working to you're not getting to your potential. I really enjoy having mates that tell me, mate, that's not good enough. Like you need to be better, because I appreciate that hard love. And I think as well, just being around my family was really good. Like I got a really supportive family, a great mum, great dad, great sister. And I think that they're always so supportive of everything that I do. And I think that having them around is key. They mean so much to me, for sure.
Yeah, I spoke about this on my podcast last episode. The most important thing in my life is my health, followed by my relationships, and then followed by money, because money can buy everything else except the first 2 things. And you have to surround yourself with the right people going on the right strategy, or else you just won't be around them much longer. And obviously health being the number one important thing.
Yeah, health has to be the most important thing. And I think that you're so right with number two. And I think if people have that change, that's totally up to them. But I do agree that those three things are probably the three most important for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I'm going to jump onto a question for you. It was from my previous podcast guest. His name's Tom Hector. He's the owner of Harris Real Estate in Adelaide. They have 300 employees. They revenued 50 million last year. The guy has hustled his whole life. We were talking about him before. He's an incredible builder. He's an incredible communicator, and his work ethic is like I haven't really seen before. I've seen a lot of guys have really good work ethic in the military, but that was physically based, getting your drills down, being the best soldier you can be. But this guy has a work ethic in real estate where he's constantly calling people around his suburb, making sure he's getting listings, building relationships. It was, incredible to sit there and listen to him about what goes into being one of the best real estate agents in Adelaide. And, the proof is in the pudding with the business that he's built and the revenue that's coming out of it. But for his question for you is, from starting your business and social media following from scratch, did you ever think it was going to blow up to the way it has? And was that your ambition from the start?
Wow, really good question. Okay, two parts to the question. The first part of the question, I'll have to say, did I think that it was going to blow up? No, not really. But I always felt in my life since I was a young kid, I always thought that I was destined for something bigger and better. And I always thought that I could be someone that is doing something that is known and that people follow. And footy wasn't a footy. I thought footy would be it for me, playing at a professional level. But I always felt like I had that burning desire to be someone and to do something. And I think that if you go in to social media with the mindset of it could be good, it could be bad. But if you go with the mindset of I'm gonna fucking do something here. I'm gonna make some waves. I want to be known. I want to do something. I want people to know who I am, and I don't care what people are going to think about me. That's the only mindset you can have going into it. I didn't expect it to be as big as what it was probably, but I had to go in with the mindset of this is going to be successful. I'm putting my chips here, and I remember probably
you're going all in.
Yeah, got to go all in, and I remember I was 6 months from finishing my degree. So I've got a sports journalism degree that I did at University of Queensland. And I was 6 months from finishing it. And I remember calling up my mum and I was like, Mum, this is starting to kind of tick along. It's starting to go really well. I'm going to just drop everything. I'm going to go all in with it. And she's like, I reckon you should finish your degree first.
Risky.
Yeah,
risky, right?
Finish your degree and do it all. I was like, I don't know if I have the time. And she's like, you'll make time. This is the first. And I was also working a part-time job, doing PT clients, and I was working. And it was the first time where I was like, yep, all right, I'm going to take all this on my shoulders. I'm still going all in, but I'm going all in with everything. And that was the first time where I was like, I put the phone down for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. I was doing, 4 a.m., getting up in the morning, training my clients until 9. Then I'd go to university from 9 till 2, and then back in the gym from 2 till 5 doing group classes, then 5 to 11 p.m. doing one-on-one. And that was every day, clockwork.
How long was that for?
That was for pretty much 2 years, just all in, non-stop.
Because isn't it funny? So many people see the prime train now, but they never seen the prime train when he was 500 followers hustling like he did. Literally, to build what he had to do.
Yeah, and it was originally called pandemic training as well. Because
that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Started during the pandemic, during COVID kind of thing, and I was just doing 8-week body weight programs, and that's where it all started. And like you said, 500 followers, you're getting 3, 4, 5, 10 likes maybe. If I got 10 likes, I was over the moon. With how good a post is done. That's kind of how far we've come now. If I don't get 3,000, 4,000 likes, I'm now I'm unhappy. And it's crazy how that changes, right? For 3 or 4 years later. But that's, a lot of people don't see the hard work that, that goes in the background.
Well, they don't. And they never do. They just see the end product. which is what I'm trying to do with this podcast. This is what I want to dig in with, with you. I think it's an incredible story of what you've been able to do and what you've been able to build outside the norm, outside your 9 to 5s, which is, and look, now you go around and just play footy at country footy clubs. You've been over to New York this year. You've been to London. Did you ever think footy outside AFL would take you where you are?
No way. And who would? Who would ever think that, the first few pieces of content I did on footy, it was like a game day vlog playing local footy. Who the hell would want to watch that? You're not playing at the highest level, and no one really cares who you are. You're not anyone. You haven't played ex-AFL and you're coming back. And the first vlog I did on YouTube got like 50,000 views, which on YouTube is like pretty crazy numbers for a first video.
100%.
And I was like, whoa, this has got legs. And I realized that people don't care if you're ex-AFL or if you're just somebody that's kind of running around. And if you can make it interesting, your content can be engaging. It doesn't matter if you're doing, freaking train spotting or bloody, an apartment review. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Bird watching, whatever.
It doesn't matter what the fuck you're doing. But if you can create some engaging content by it, you're passionate about it, and you've got consistency, discipline, and hard work, you cannot fail. Like you just can't.
What was when you were first starting to do vlogging and talking to the camera, and was your self-confidence at like all-time lows? Like, did you struggle? Did you struggle talking to the camera? Because that's what. Look, my wife's been telling me more and more that I need to get out there and be in front of the camera more. And the one thing I fucking struggle with is having a camera. You would have seen me this morning. Yeah. Like, you put a camera on me and I'm like,
Nah, you're good, I thought. No, you're good. But discipline equals freedom.
Yeah,
you thought about it eventually.
Yeah, I had to get it out. But you caught me off guard a bit. But like when you were first doing that, did you struggle with uploading that and putting yourself out there?
I didn't, but looking back now, like 5 years later, for like what I do for pieces to camera now compared to what I did 5 years ago, I'm so much better now. But I think that
you got to start somewhere.
Right? Yeah. Like I remember the first ones that I was doing, my hands are going real weird, and I'm like a little bit kind of looking weird. So it's the same with anything though. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. Like you've got to start somewhere. Like I've started doing, boxing in the last year, and it was the most daunting thing ever because I had to start from the absolute cellar. Like I was so bad, never been in a boxing gym, so intimidated by like walking into a gym where people will have tats and like kind of look a little bit scary. Some of them been to prison and then come back from prison, and it's like, this is kind of full on, but putting yourself in that situation of sucking at something and then progressing is like the best feeling a human can feel.
Yeah, I'm going through it right now with this podcast.
Yeah.
Like I started it and I just thought to myself, oh man, I suck. I suck. But the more I do it, the better I get at it.
It's reps, bro. It's reps. Everything's reps.
Consistency,
like,
discipline.
Reps. Get the reps.
And the more I'm doing it, like I enjoy these podcasts so much, right? But the more I'm doing it, the better I'm getting at it, and the better guests are coming on. Not better guests because I don't want to talk down my first guest, but the more widened my audience is becoming with having people like yourself on, my next guest, and the easier people are to get to jump onto my podcast now. It is reps and it's discipline. Like, I heard an interesting quote from Chris Williamson the other day that you'll be in the top 1% of the podcast if you do 21 of them. And a lot of people don't make it. I think 98% of podcasts don't make it past 3 episodes. So I've done that, and now all I got to do is continually get it out. My goal is to do 52 in 1 year. So 1 a week, bang it out, see how we go after that. But the reps of discipline, the reps of consistency are some things that undeniably need to be in the forefront of people's minds, especially when they're going about their daily routine, yes, but if they're trying to build something. Did you find that consistency and discipline were one of the 2 main things that you needed?
Yeah. Consistency, I think, is the key. I remember Tom Brady said it in his Hall of Fame speech the other day, and he was just saying I'm doing the same as kind of everyone else. Like everyone, does the work. I do the work, but like the thing that separated me was consistency. Like I would do it every day. these guys would pick and choose what days they did it. The reason that I was so successful was because every day I woke up and every day I did it. And the same with Michael Phelps. Every single day he trained. If he was sick, if he was tired, he didn't miss a training session.
I watched that speech.
20 years.
It was brilliant, wasn't it?
Didn't miss one, you know? And you look at these people and you're like, oh yeah, like for some reason people think like, oh yeah, like he's a freak athlete, or, you know, there's something different about them. There's fucking not. Like they just did the things that they'd set out to do. And if you do the things, or anyone else that out there in work, you know, in footy, if you do the things that you set yourself out to do and you just like consistently do them, you cannot fail.
Greatness happens when talent works hard.
Exactly right.
Hey, just another question for you. What were some of the biggest challenges, you know, starting Prime Train, and sort of how'd you overcome them?
I think the biggest challenges early on for me when I was beginning was really just like battling people on social media, like that are coming at you.
Did you find that? Did you find that you were arguing too much on social media with people?
Or worried about what people think. Now I say like I always say, don't worry about what people think. Now I mean that within reason. Like you have to also be a little bit worried about what people think. You gotta
just be aware.
You gotta be aware, right? If everybody hates you, you might be doing something wrong. So you gotta think a little bit of like what, you know, what you care about, whose opinion you care about. But just remember, like we said, you know, you're never going to get hate from someone doing less than you. So
which is one I want to play that soon for you. But I think, unfortunately as well, we're living in a world where there's some social media influencers out there that would rather be hated than unknown. You know, like they come out and say some stuff and I look at them, I'm like, surely you uploaded that because you knew you were going to get hate, but the hate brings in content and viewers. And I think it's a really, really sad world that some people get caught up in. And I've seen them, I'm definitely not saying this is you at all. But I've seen people and you know, they have like a little note of send and all their sends are more than their likes. And they're obviously sending them to their friends to take the piss out of them. And it's like, it's such a sad and unfortunate world we live in that people would rather be hated than unknown. I think that's a real bad part of social media. I think and a lot of people are gravitating towards that because they get reactions from it.
But people are governed by those numbers on the screen, and at the end of the day, if they post something that gets, let's say, 10,000 views, but it's not controversial, they get more of a dopamine hit for something that gets 500k views, but everyone hates on them for it. Everybody's commenting, you're a wanker, you're a dickhead, but it's got 500k views. So technically in your head, you think that like that 500k is better than that 10k. But the 10k of people actually agree with you and want to follow you and like you. And then 500,000 people are watching that and thinking, you look like a dickhead.
Yeah, they're the ones that aren't going to buy your apps. They're the ones that aren't going to follow you, or they're just there to take the piss out of you.
Literally. And send it to their mates and take the piss. So the hard thing I think with social media is once you've got a reputation, it's quite hard to shake it. Like it's going to take a lot of work to shake it.
Rebuild the trust of people, don't you?
If you look like, if you're a fuckwit, it's pretty hard to come back from that. Like, I think that's a difficult thing that people need to realize. If you fuck your reputation from the beginning, you're not going to be able to get it back.
Yeah, it's like selling your soul to the devil a bit, isn't it?
It is.
and like I said, I don't feel anything for them people, except I just feel sad for them. You know, like, and I wonder what life they're living and stuff like that. Obviously, I don't spend too much time on because I don't really give a shit. But in the moment, you know what I mean? Like in the moment, I sit there and I go, I wonder if they thought that was a good idea. But anyway. I don't want to stay on that long on too much, but look, you have received like a bit of criticism and stuff like that, especially when you play footy out at local footy. And I've watched some of your stuff where you have a lot of people come at you. You get a lot of abuse from the crowds because you're different and you're doing something different, which I think that different is brilliant. And you've built a business off it, but. How do you deal with the criticism and some of the hate you receive? That's and look, when I did sit down and map out some questions, that was my first one that I wanted to know.
Well, it's a really interesting one because I think that it's so prevalent in today's society, isn't it? You get people that are bullied or put down or whatever, but I've got a few interesting points on this. But I think that, like, for me, how do I deal with it? I don't really care. I'm the one that's playing the game of footy. Like, I'm out there on the oval and they're on the sidelines drinking beer. It's like, in my head, I'm only ever thinking of like what I'm doing is for the greater good, and whatever, like, if people have come literally just to the footy to abuse me, good on them, because they're paying entry. They're probably paying for the bar. They're probably, if they got drinks in their head, they're paying for the bar. They're probably getting food from the canteen, and the club that I'm playing for is earning a shitload more money. So who's really winning? Like, still me, because the club goes back and gives me the figures of, I've got a lot of figures this year from like clubs that might have got around like 5K or 6K per game on the bar. And then when I'm playing, they get like 25, 30K on the bar, and it's like, that's because people are coming in and they're shouting abuse and then they're having a beer. And it's like, this is great. I'm still winning. So I always laugh it off and have a bit of fun. And it's always funny because the people that are trying to give me one or hit me on the field or, shout abuse after the field always come up to me after the game and shake my hand and go, mate, I love what you do. Yeah. And for me, the first few times when that happened, I was like, I was kind of like, oh, why are these people shouting at me, blah, blah, blah. And then once I see that response afterwards, like, oh, I really love what you do. It's like, it's almost like an Australian way of respect. It's like if they
giving you a hard time
is almost a thing of respect. But I think that,
but then shaking your hand afterwards,
and going, nice. Good game, or well done, love what you do. It's so funny when you're out there in the field and people tackle you and then they get your elbow into your back of your head or something after. Like, oh, fuck you, mate. And then after the game they come up and go, mate, I love everything that you do. I follow you. And it's like, why do you hate me so much? But it's like I said, it's kind of a form of respect, and and I've got no issues with it. I mean, it comes with the territory.
100%. What's one bit of advice you would give to someone about handling criticism and staying true to their goals?
Ask that question again. Sorry, I just want to think on it.
So, what advice would you give to others on handling criticism while staying true to their goals?
Yeah, great question. I think that it goes back to what I was saying this morning. It's what's your why. What for me, I'm always really, really big on my goals. And I've got 3 big goals at the moment. And that's all you need, like 2 or 3 goals, I think, that push you on. So for me, it's like right now I want to try and win the premiership with the team that I'm playing for, Phillip Island, for the rest of the year. I want to get in the best shape of my life that I can get into, and then I also want to release a really good app in the next 2 months. So that's kind of like my 3 things. And if I'm copying criticism from any direction or from any person, all I go back to is what I'm doing, pushing me towards these goals that I'm working towards. And if it's not, if it's misaligned, then I can go back and kind of change my actions, I guess.
I mean, that's important, right? Having goals, and if those goals are the right goals and you're consistently aiming towards them, then the rest is probably just noise, right?
Yeah.
It's all outside noise. So what you would say to people is, if your goals are the right goals, stay true to them and ignore the criticism.
Exactly. The criticism doesn't matter because it's the same thing as, like, let's say, for example, you want to get 5,000 followers on social media, let's say, for example, and then, you keep posting and then the boys are in the group chat saying, oh, you look like a wanker, you look like a dickhead, stop posting this stuff. But is what you're doing staying true to your goals? You want to get 5,000 followers, and maybe under that you should say not to be hated and to be to be a good bloke, to do it with,
to give out good content that isn't bringing in 100% hate,
to do it with dignity, and to do it true to yourself, because the last thing that you want, especially on social media, is people following you for someone that you're not, and then
good point,
because and then they meet you in public and then they're like, oh, I didn't think you were like this, I thought that you were you were someone different. So it's really important that the person that you put out on social media is authentically you, because if it's not, then everyone that does follow you, when they meet you in real life, they won't like you.
Yeah, Yeah. Yeah, very good point you bring. And there's two types of criticism, right? There's bad criticism that people are just doing because they feel like they need to get a point across with you and it's probably not good for you. And then there's constructive criticism. You know, criticism that you might get from your parents, criticism that you might get from close friends that call you out on your bullshit. So there's two types of criticism in this world, and you know, one's good and one's bad. And
well, I'll double down on that and say that sometimes there's criticism from bullies that actually might fucking be the truth.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes, sometimes I've posted a reel and it's me on, you know, on the footy field and maybe being a little bit argy-bargy or something, and people said, you look like a flog. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I fucking do look like a little bit of a flog.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to be doing this stuff. And, you know, maybe you are fat. Maybe you are too skinny.
Yeah,
you know, maybe there are these, you know, I see a lot of people on social media, these people are like posting fitness content and they're, you know, way overweight. I'm not taking, you know, any financial advice from a broke financial advisor. You know, I'm taking advice from someone that has probably done it before.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it's really important that sometimes that, you know, sometimes these bullies, they might have some part of truth of that, and it's going to take a real big man or a real big woman to kind of to take that on and be like, you know what, maybe I'm not perfect, maybe I'm not right. And I'm always looking at myself, I'm like, how can I get better?
Yeah.
You know, maybe I'm not perfect, maybe I'm not right. And don't take in all of the criticism because it can be a lot. But if there is something that keeps going on, you're like, oh, this is a common theme that these things I'm not doing right. Social media is great for that. It'll tell you straight away if you look like a wanker or if you're, you know, it'll tell you. So maybe you do need to change some things about yourself. And that's kind of a part of social media, that the honesty of truthfulness.
It's brutal, isn't it?
It's brutal, but like sometimes no one tells you that stuff. Your family are too nice. Your friends are too nice.
Yeah.
You need to post on social media to realize what people actually think of you.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
It is an interesting point,
really
because there's two sides of it. Like, to look at it, and it's like, do you want to be honest with yourself, or, you know, do you want to kind of keep living in a fairyland of like everything's fine, everything's perfect, I'm perfect?
Yeah. I'm going to play you a clip. Now, this is the first time I've ever done this on this podcast.
Love it.
I thought I'd try it out with you. I was going to do it with another friend, and it was about being kind but having a background of being really dangerous. He was a ex-military special forces guy, but I thought it would embarrass him a bit. But with you, I reckon I can go there. Now, the clip is a clip of David Goggins saying something to Joe Rogan, and I'm just going to play it for you.
He is my favorite, like one of my favorites. Absolutely love Goggins.
Yeah, he's great.
Froth him.
All right, ready to go.
Tell you this, Joe, you will never in life meet a hater doing better than you.
That's a fact.
Ever.
Such a good quote.
It is. And, you know, David Goggins, he's received the most hate out of any person in the world, but there's so many people that he's changed their lives, right? Do you sort of feel like you're on a bit of the same path where you're helping people change their lives, but you're also copying that little bit of hate? And does the life-changing factor for you far outweigh the hate that you get? Far
outweigh. When I get, you know, it gives me like, this is the first time I get kind of like goosebumps sometimes when I do podcasts, and I, you know, and I show people or I talk about clients that I've worked with, and then I talk about kind of seeing their mental and physical transformation as a person. And the first person that I ever trained was my sister. You know, she was a little bit overweight going through school. She was at boarding school. And then, she kind of lost her way a little bit, and I knew nothing about training and fitness or whatever, but I gave her a little template kind of training program, and she did it, and, you know, she got fit and physically, mentally, and the thing about that story is actually not how it made her feel, but how it made me feel off the back of how it made her feel. So I felt
helping
others. I never really felt that before, and I was always pretty selfish kid. I never would really like give presents at like family Christmases or anything. I wanted to get, and that was the first time I remember where I was like, "Whoa, this feels fucking awesome."
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that I'm actually helping someone from my expertise at that time, zero expertise, had no idea what I was doing really, just like giving her, a little bit of a, very, very starter, gym program and stuff. So I think that now for me, when I see people send through their transformation photos or just message me and say, you've changed my life with your mindset, or you've changed my life with what I've been eating, it's like fully whatever anyone has to say that's negative, I'm like, well, I've got proof that what I do works. And these are the people that it worked with. What you can say whatever you want, but in my head, I straight away think like that's a victim mentality, because I already know that the people that don't want to be victims, the people that do want to change their life and are disciplined and want to work hard, they will do it. I'll send them the program and they will do the program. And at the end of the day, the people that don't want to be helped, they can't be helped, unfortunately. You can't force them to change their life. The only people that you can help are the people that want to be helped.
That's exactly the answer I was going for when I did play that to you, and it worked out to a teammate. So thanks for that. I'll probably start doing that more. But that's that's what I was looking for. I was looking for that type of response from you, so I can show a different side of you, right? So I can show the audience that there's a really, really good guy here that is wanting to change lives. Like, yes, he's making money out of it, but he's also changing lives for the better. He's making people's lives better. He's getting them into the gym, getting them eating the right stuff, getting them getting 8 hours of sleep, getting them being to be the best person that they can be. I think in a world full of, unfortunately, quite a few dishonest people in social media and in life, and a world full of processed food, cheap dopamine hits, people eating nicotine gum. There's a few real ones out there, and I think you're one of them. So
yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I don't like seeing people just zombie walk through life, and I think we've all been there. But yeah, it's a scary thing. And I always say to people, once you get to kind of 50 or 60%, or once you've felt what it feels like to be at 50 or 60%, then you feel what it's like to be at like 80, 90%. You never want to go back to 50 or 60. You want to stay at 80, 90 because you know how good it feels. And that's what I'm trying to push people to do, to stay at that 80, 90. And once you get there, you never want to turn back.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is getting your food right and getting the right resources and nutrients into your body. And then your body goes, oh shit, this is how my machine feels when I put the right things into it. This is how it starts to work. And then, like, you see a little switch in their head. They go from eating processed garbage to having a lot of protein and meat in their diet. And it's like, wow, this is how my machine feels. This is how it's supposed to operate. Not, eating fucking cans of Coke or drinking cans of Coke and having 2-minute noodles and stuff like that. Like, there's a time and place for them. But, yeah, I think the biggest thing is the diet, right? And then follows that with the training, and then follows that with the mental health aspect of making sure you stay grounded and keeping your ego in check and stuff like that. What's one thing, because you're a very, very busy person, what's one thing you do to unwind to keep your mental health in check?
Great question. And for a lot of people out there, I want to be honest. Like, I think that sometimes people find time to unwind, and it's same with training. They're like, I need a rest day or a rest week. It's like, you haven't actually done the fucking work yet to get the rest week or the rest day. It's like, if you want to unwind, you've got to have a pretty solid time of work. Like, I think too many people are like, I'm going to have the weekend off, or, I'm going to have, 3 or 4 days off and do nothing. It's like, you need to have put in a solid 6 to 8 weeks of fucking work, and then you deserve that time to unwind, And for me, I love going up to, especially in the winter, go up to Noosa and see my family for 3 or 4 days. That's fantastic. Or I'll just book a trip kind of every 8-ish weeks, and go. And we might go to Bali, might go to New Zealand or something, just for 3 or 4 days. Take a little bit of time to chill out. But I feel like a fraud or an imposter if I go on those trips and I don't actually deserve it. I can't sit down and rest until I've done the things that I need to do.
Do you post that stuff when you of you unwinding on social media?
Yeah, I would.
So
because,
it's not fraud.
Nah, it's not fraud, but you need to you need to put the work in. And it's like, I love it when people are like, rest day today. It's like, you didn't work out like 2 days ago. Like, you don't deserve a rest day. Like, you got to deserve those things. And I think that it can. Yeah, you're never going to get anywhere if you're like taking too much time to unwind. You got to find the good balance, and but yeah, to find that kind of that happy medium. I'll love to go see my family, or it can be as small as just chilling out. And yesterday I went to we did like breath work, sound therapy, and then we did a hot spa, cold spa, sauna, which was great. And that was like an hour, 2 hours yesterday, where it's kind of just like a midweek hour, 2 hours unwind. But that doesn't mean the whole day is unwinding. You know, go as soon as you get home, you're straight back into work, kind of thing. But I love doing those kind of things if I can, like a sauna, ice bath, every like once or twice a week, which is just a little time period where I can unwind. Yeah,
I think it's incredibly important to that. I generally have my Sundays off, but I've run 50 to 60K during the week. I've been in the gym every afternoon, assault bike sessions and a couple of little HIIT sessions here and there, so quite active. But geez, I hate resting on Sundays because I feel lazy. Now I know that's not the case, right? Because I've put in the work, but it's just one thing that I've always struggled with doing is not moving on Sundays. I wish I could get out and go for a run, but also, and you'll probably find this when you get into your mid-30s, you've got to start listening to your body a bit.
So that's the thing. I'm 24, but like, that was the same on Sunday. Like we had one of the wettest games, like muddy, just like the worst, kind of conditions you could ever have in a footy game on Saturday. And then the next day, we were straight back into the gym and then went for a long walk and then just ate a heap of focaccia, which was just beautiful. But but you kind of earn that, we knew we were going to go get this great focaccia. We're like, well, to earn that, I'm going to work really hard in the morning. And like, I don't want people to get, eating disorders or whatever, but like earning their food or because a lot of people get weird about that on social media. But like, I'm a big believer in just in earning a lot of things. I think that to get that time to rest or to get that, that nice dinner or whatever it is, like I want to do something to deserve it because I just feel better when I do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Look, mate, we're going to start wrapping this up. Now, I've got a question that I ask all of my guests, and you're the youngest that I've ever asked this to, right?
Good.
Some of the people that I've asked this to have been, they've 60 years old or in my age or 40s or 50s. So it's going to be very, very interesting to ask you the question because 18 for you was only, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
So what's one bit of advice if you could go back to Tom and give him one bit of advice about life, what would it be?
Gee whiz, 18 years old. It's so funny, isn't it, as a 24-year-old because like I think that 18 is so long ago, but I couldn't imagine being 60 or 50 and looking
even,
back.
Man, I just crossed 34 the other day and he's 18. I was joining the army at 18.
Oh, man. I
don't know what I'd tell myself.
I was so raw, bro. So raw. I think that the biggest piece of advice would have to be that discipline equals success. Because at 18 or maybe discipline and hard work equals success because it was probably something that I never really understood at 18. But realistically, like I wouldn't change my my life for the world. I'm happy with how I lived my life, kind of 18 to 22 ish. I was pretty happy. Like I was at college, so I was going out and having a bit of fun, and that's the way you should live your fucking life as an 18. Like the last thing I'd want to go back and tell my 18-year-old self was like, work really hard and don't have any fun because like without fun, I wouldn't be able to have the balance that I have now.
Correct.
So I would still tell him, the same thing, discipline and hard work equals success because I think that there'd be a lot more kind of work that I could have done in those years, but I wouldn't substitute the work for the fun because I think that the fun is most important. I'm only 24 as well, so I still got plenty of fun hopefully ahead. But I would definitely, I definitely wouldn't change too much.
I mean, that's a really good response. No one's given me that response before, which is interesting because I've had some people on here that have lived some crazy lives. But yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I don't know if I would actually tell myself anything. Because I would want myself to live the exact same life, which has ended me up right here, right now.
That's awesome.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a great response. Because
if you told someone, if I went back and told myself to do something, might have completely changed the aspect of who I am and who I've grown into now.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah. No, I love that. I reckon that
I think that would be my answer. Yeah. It's tough. Like I ask people that question and I've up to episode 13. I've asked 13 people this question, and that's what I've come up with so far. It might change to another 13 episodes. I might get to episode 26 and be like, study stoicism and become a stoic or something like that, you know.
Become a monk.
Yeah, but enjoy the hard things in life. But I don't think I would because, you know, and I would not tell myself not to make mistakes because making mistakes is one of the most important things in life. But yeah, I don't know if I'd tell me anything. I'd probably just stare at myself and say, strap in, bro, because you're in for one hell of a ride.
Yeah, and you wouldn't, exactly right. You wouldn't want to tell yourself anything else. Like, I'd just go back and say, mate, you're going to have a fucking great life. You know, you're going to have a great life.
Yeah.
And as long as you work hard and don't think everything's going to come to you sweetly, you know, you're going to have a really good life.
Yeah, 100%. Now, look, my previous podcast guest had a question for you, so you got to have a question for the next podcast guest. I'm not going to give her away, you know, but she's an Australian endurance athlete, social entrepreneur. She's raised millions of dollars for charity. She's done some of the toughest ultramarathons in the world. She's run across India, so she is like a superwoman.
Yeah.
You know? And so, what would be your question for her?
I would love to know who her role model is and why they drove her to motivate her to do what she does.
Role model now or role model when she started in
role model when she started.
Okay.
When she began, like who really pushed you? That one person that you feel really pushed you to be successful and do what you do now.
Brilliant. I've got it this afternoon, mate. So
it's back to back, baby. Back to back. I love that.
Got to get the hustle
on the grind.
Got to get the hustle in before I get back home tonight. But nah, look, mate. I've absolutely loved having you on. I really enjoyed what we did this morning, and I hope I've showed a different side to you that you know other people just see from social media. So when they listen to this, they go, that guy's an entrepreneur. He's a business builder. He's a hustler. So I hope I've been able to portray you in that sort of sense, mate. So, but thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to the big things to come for you.
Thanks, mate. You're always welcome here in Melbourne if you ever need a place to stay or someone to go cold plunging it with 5 a.m.
Definitely, mate.
At 5 a.m. I'm always around. But thanks so much for having me, man. I really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And for more information, head over to our Instagram at 2 Worlds Collide Podcast. Take care.